Hello and welcome to another tutorial for iRacing data telemetry. This is a follow-up to the last video that I did about how to record and access your iRacing data telemetry files and how to get that information recorded from the iRacing simulation software. This is a follow-up on how to make that data a bit more usable than it was in its basic .ibt file format. And we're going to be making this a bit easier to use by using a piece of data analysis software called MoTeC, or MoTeC is the company. The piece of software we are going to be using is going to be called MoTeC i2. We'll get to that in a moment. First, though, what you need to do to be able to get your iRacing data files into a format that MoTeC can recognize, you need to come to Google and you need to search for MU Exporter. This is a small piece of software from Patrick Moore. You'll go to the first link on Google, which is the github.com Patrick Moore MU releases. It'll be that first link there. You'll scroll down just a little bit and you will find the mu installer.exe. Looks like the last version that was posted on February 3rd, 2018. That's version 1.9.3.2. Since it looks like he hasn't updated it since then, I'm going to assume this is the most accurate version. It may get updated in the future. However, this version seems to work in the current build of iRacing simulation software as of May 18th, 2020. So anyway, you're going to download the mu installer.exe and then you're going to install the mu software. And once you do that, you're going to get a screen, a software that looks a bit like this, or actually it should look exactly like this, but this is what it's going to look like. And what you can see here is there's a couple different options available to you. It's a pretty simple piece of software. The first option is the exporter. You can choose between no export, .csv file, or a MoTeC file. A CSV file is going to be something that you'll use for a program like Microsoft Excel or any similar basic spreadsheet program, but we're going to be using MoTeC. The next option you have is the units. You can switch between metric or English. Metric, of course, will be in kilometers, centigrade, all of that sort of units. English is going to be in miles, feet, yards, Fahrenheit, all that sort of thing. The next thing that you have to check is your import directory. This you should not need to change. This is basically telling the program where to pull the telemetry files from. By default, it is set to the main computer drive, users, your username, documents, iRacing telemetry. This should be the standard directory to the iRacing telemetry. The next so you don't need to change that. The next option is the export directory. This is where you can assign what directory the new files are going to be put into. By default, it puts them into the same directory that it got the files from. And you can of course change this to be wherever you want, or you can just leave it in the iRacing telemetry directory, which is what I have done. And from there I set up my own file organization, which I will get to in a moment. The next thing that you have in these settings is the auto-enable telemetry. This is an on-off option, and what that will enable is the automatic capture of telemetry whenever the iRacing simulation software is on. So as soon as you start driving, that telemetry will start recording, and you never have to worry about missing any data from the beginning of the session, or realizing halfway through the session or halfway through the first lap, oh shoot, I forgot to turn telemetry on. By enabling this, it automatically enables telemetry. To be honest about the software, that feature may be worth installing this software on its own, even if you aren't going to use the MoTeC software. This feature of enabling telemetry, if you are someone who uses telemetry, having that enabled and having that available may be a feature that you find useful, and may decide that it's worth having the software just to have that feature. The next option is the export lap threshold. This is a setting that can tell the software, do not start recording or do not save a telemetry file unless you have X amount of laps in a session. So that by default, that's set to 0. So as soon as you pull out of the pits, as soon as you load into the pits rather, you'll start recording that telemetry. Or you can set it to 1 lap. So once you have 1 lap completed in the session, it will start saving that file. Or you can set that to any number you like. By default, I have it set to 0 though, so I just have everything recorded. The next option is to remove the iRacing telemetry. And this option, I personally would save it to never, because what this will do is once a MoTeC or CSV file has been created, whichever you selected in the first exporter option, once you have that file, by changing the remove iRacing telemetry setting, it will delete the original .ibt file from the telemetry folder in the documents folder on your hard drive. I personally am of the mindset that you should hardly ever delete a file once you have it, so I like to keep that to never. If, however, you are trying to save space and you think that you will never need that IBT file again, then you can of course change that to be under a threshold, or to just always delete that telemetry. The next option is to show the settings on startup, which simply changes whether or not these settings display when you open up the MU software. I have that set to on. I never really see a reason to not have that turned on, because you might need to change something, and it's just nice to have it there should you need it, especially since this is such a simple UI to use. The final option is the save current setup. This is a little bit more of an advanced option, but if you're using the MoTeC software and you are always changing or tweaking setups in iRacing, this can be extremely useful. Or if you just want to have that record of what setup you were using for the particular session that you are looking at, you can turn that save current setup to on, and what that will do is every single session that it records of telemetry, it will save which setup you are on, and save all of these settings into a file that MoTeC will recognize that you can then view in MoTeC. I will address exactly what these setup sheets, because is what it will save as a setup sheet in MoTeC. I will cover what these setup sheets are in another video, but right now I'm just going over the MU exporter software and opening the files that you have now created in the MoTeC i2 software. So once you have all of that set up, it will automatically go through all of the telemetry files that you have in the iRacing telemetry directory. So if you have telemetry files that you collected before you installed this program, there's no need to worry about that. This software will automatically convert all of those files to the MoTeC files that you are looking for, or the CSV files, whichever you decide to use. Of course, I don't know where else I was going with that. Anyway, so yes, that will automatically adjust, and then all future telemetry files that you collect off of iRacing simulation software will automatically be converted as long as this MU software is turned on. Now, one thing to note is that if you click the red X up at the top to close the window, it is worth noting that this just closes the MU exporter screen. The actual application, the executable file, will remain active. So just because the MU exporter does not show up on your taskbar does not mean that it is not active. If, however, you do not want this open, you can of course come to your task manager and scroll down to find the MU software, click it, and then click End Task. But it is worth noting that there is very low processing demand from the MU software. As you can see from my current settings, I am only using up 10.1 megabytes of RAM memory, and no CPU, and no disk, and no network, and no GPU. So there is very little need to turn this off unless that is something you are compulsive of. One thing to note though, if you do decide to end the MU exporter software and go to turn it back on, in my experience, the auto-enable telemetry setting has a tendency to turn off once you close the application, which is to say once you end the application executable. So when you go to reopen the MU exporter, make sure that you set that back to on. So you want to turn that auto-enable telemetry back on if that is a feature that you want to use. So now that you understand and have gone through the settings for the MU exporter, you can go over to your file directory, which will be your Windows Explorer. You can look at from there you can go to my PC, or this PC rather. You're going to be looking for the local disk, users, look for your username. You are then going to look for documents, and then look for iRacing and telemetry. And all of the files that you have will automatically be put into the telemetry file. Now, of course, that is the full file path to get to this section. In case it wasn't clear before, you just needed that reminder. However, if you do not have to go that full process, by default, unless you have changed it, the documents folder on your local disk should be a saved directory in the left side of the Windows Explorer, both in quick access and under this PC. You can click Documents on either one of those, and it will bring you straight to the Documents directory, under which iRacing is in that folder, and Telemetry. It doesn't matter how you get to it, as long as you get to the iRacing folder in Documents and then to Telemetry. Then it doesn't matter how you get there. All the information will be the same. Once you have got into there, I will show you really quickly what the files you now have will look like. You will have 3 versions of the same file effectively. So you're going to have triple the storage basically of what the single file is going to be from just iRacing. You now have the IBT file from iRacing. You now have a MoTeC log file, which I believe is just the main MoTeC file, but you also have this MoTeC log file extension. All 3 of these files are important. However, MoTeC will be referencing the 2 MoTeC files, of course. Now, you can, of course, have any sort of file organization that you would like for this. Because I have a data analysis business, I like to have each driver that I have with MoTeC files separated into their own folder in the iRacing telemetry folder, which is why you will see, if you are looking at the screen, why you have me and another driver. From there, I have the car folder. So for example, I at the moment have a 488 GTE folder and a Skip Barber folder. From there, it is further broken down into which track the data files are coming from. So for example, I've been doing a lot of practice at Le Mans, the Circuit de la Sarthe, and all of those files are from Le Mans, and the Ferrari 488 GTE are now in a single file that is easy to get to. This process helps differentiate your data between multiple cars, multiple tracks, multiple sessions, etc., because these files can add up very quickly. For example, in the short time that I've been running the 488 GTE, I already have 3 tracks set up at the Circuit de la Sarthe, the Lime Rock Park, and the Tsukuba circuit. And of course, as I drive this car more, that will just keep growing, and I would rather have it neatly organized, but any file organization system that you prefer, you can of course use. Now, the final bit of this tutorial is opening these files in MoTeC. If you are not interested in actually viewing these files yourself and would rather have it looked at by someone else, or you just like knowing that these files are here, then you can of course click off of this tutorial now. If you would like someone to look at your data, I of course am always available to do that. You can send me your data files at grant@data46.racing. That is the email address where you can reach me for my data analysis business, Data46. The website for that is data46.racing. However, if you are the sort of person that likes looking at your own data, you will want to download the next piece of software that we are going to get into. So you will want to come back to your internet browser, go to Google or whatever your preferred search engine is, and you will want to search for MoTeC i2 Pro. That is MoTeC space i2 space Pro. And you are going to go to the first link here, which is the motec.com.au/i2. and the page title for that is MoTeC i2 Data Analysis Download. You're going to go to that site, and the first thing you're going to want to download is actually the first file available for you, which is the i2 Pro 64-bit if you have a 64-bit operating system. There is, of course, the regular 32-bit if you are running on a 32-bit system. However, since almost all Microsoft-based operating systems are now in 64-bit, you should go with the 64-bit version. From the MoTeC site, they are currently on version 1.1.4.0454. However, the exact version does not really matter. As long as you have the latest and most up-to-date software, that is all you really need. So anyway, you're going to be looking for the i2 Pro version of the i2 software. You'll see here there is also the i2 standard version. However, since both versions are free, go ahead and go with the Pro version, as it is a bit more powerful and a bit more customizable of a program. However, if you're just looking for basic data analysis and you don't want to deal with all the bells and whistles of a more advanced program, of course, feel free to use the standard version. Once you download the MoTeC i2 software, you're going to want to open that. You can search that, of course, in your Windows search function. Just search MoTeC, and the first thing that pops up should be the MoTeC i2 Pro 1.1. Or you can even just search i2. It doesn't matter. Both ways get to the MoTeC software. If you are using the MoTeC i2 Pro, which is what I will be going with from now on, you will want to select this open and existing workspace, select circuit 1, and select OK. And this will bring you to the first screen, which should look something like this. This is what it will look like when you open it up. As you will see, there are many different worksheets that are available to you, as well as many different views. I can, of course, make a more detailed explanation of how to use the MoTeC i2 software, but this is a different tutorial at the moment, and we are just looking at how to get our data into the MoTeC i2 software. So once you are in your MoTeC workspace, you will want to come up to File and select Open File Log, or if you are preferential to keyboard shortcuts, that is Control-O. There is also a button for that right up here at the top of the screen. Either way, you get to the same place, which is the Open Log File screen. From here, you will want to first use the Explorer on the left side of the Open Log Files window. From there, you will want to go to PC, Local Disk, Users, your username, Documents, iRacing, Telemetry, and then however you have your data files saved. Or alternatively, if you have changed your data file location from the standard default setting for iRacing into, say, a second hard drive or a second folder, you can of course direct yourself to that directory. Once you select the folder that you are going to be working from with the data, such as for me, I have my own data here, and I will look at my name in the 488 GTE at the Circuit de la Sarthe 24 Hours of Le Mans. You will see all of these sessions available to you in the center screen. And you can, of course, select multiple sessions, multiple files by shift clicking them or control clicking them if that is what you prefer. However, you can of course just open one file by simply clicking it. And on this same window, you will see what kind of session it was, what year it was created in, who the driver was, what the fastest time of the session was, what the date and time of the session was, any comments for this session, which would, for example, in this case, be showing you what setup files you were using for iRacing, the vehicle ID, which will be the car, and an engine ID if that applies. Some of these are more references to actual MoTeC files created from MoTeC data analysis, data acquisition hardware. However, this will give you most of the information that you are looking for. On the right side, you will see a summary, which will tell you all the data channels that are available to you, including the file name, the file size, and various other settings. So once you have that selected and you have selected the file that you want to open, you simply click Open, and now your window should be populated with data. From here, you can analyze your data however you like and do whatever you want with it. But I will make another short tutorial about how to use the software if it is requested in the future. However, like I said before, this is just a quick tutorial on how to create MoTeC ready files from your iRacing simulation software. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my website at data46.racing or send me an email to get your data analyzed at data46.racing. You can of course email me at grant@data46.iracing anytime you would like, and I will respond promptly. Until then, I will see you later and see you on the track. Drive safe.